everybody. Welcome. Denver Riggleman, Denver After Dark, your favorite former congressman, former senior technical advisor for the January 6th committee, former intelligence officer and counterterrorism expert, and current chaser of crazy, wielding the million-pound shit hammer of facts. Today, we're going to talk about a killer. We're going to talk about Vance Boelter and his killing of the Minnesota Democratic politicians and the disinformation propaganda explosion we're seeing by the far right. And yes, it is the far right. Let's be honest. Now, everybody here knows, if they know me, my aversion to the killing of the United Healthcare CEO and anybody who condoned it. Because to me, it just sort of represented the escalation of violence on specific individuals based on politics or hysteria, propaganda, all those type of things. Regardless of the fact that I have a health tech company that is trying to mitigate denial of claims based on AI, and I can go into all of that and how our team is so good at that. Killing somebody for something like that is so abhorrent, it's hard to get your arms around. And as somebody who saw what happened on January 6th, who's seen far right violence and far left violence, and I've seen statistically how they complement each other, we can say that lately the far right on the disinformation sphere has definitely been in a hold my beer moment, especially when it comes to talking about violence or crazy stuff. Like, for instance, with Vance, you saw Mike Lee, the senator, tweeting, "This is what Marxism looks like." And what I said was, listen, if Marxism is evangelical Christianity being a Trump voter and also a Republican, well, then maybe is that the new definition of Marxist? Because that doesn't make any sense. And we have to think that Mike Lee has gone into the hysteria, disinformation, lost his mind boat. But getting back to these killings and the disinformation you see out there, let's just cut it down to the quick. The reason he killed these individuals and on that list right now, and this is the first time you really see CNN and the Wall Street Journal agreeing, is that this guy certainly had an evangelical bent, seemingly very pro-life, and somebody who was really on the Trump train, and somebody who was down the loser path a bit. I mean, this is a guy who plucked out eyeballs of cadavers, right, for funeral homes. I mean, this is not a healthy individual. And I think when you're looking at the stack, the cascading stack of this, let's go back. Again, I like to go to the second level. Somebody who seems to be marginally unemployed, always looking for something. Somebody who, went to the Congo, liked to speak about evangelicalism and being born again. Somebody who liked to shift between jobs. Somebody who might have been relatively unstable, maybe hiding his psychosis under the veneer of Christianity. But you have somebody who is radicalized, right, to kill based on either something severely broken in him, which we can guarantee that's the case, but also on the dehumanization of people identified outside of MAGA or the far right, which is the left, or even rhinos or never Trumpers, or people that are independents, people who don't see the religiosity and the fundamental sort of shift towards that everybody who thinks that women have a right to choose must be murderers, or anybody who's not on the MAGA train must be part of this globalist cabal, which you're seeing more and more of. And then you see disinformation that this was a Tim Walz appointee. He was probably a Democrat killing other Democrats. This is patently false. If you just go look at the facts, Wall Street Journal, CNN, every single sort of reporting agency out there would say this is a bipartisan working group of business leaders, and that you see the far right people like DC Drano, who's unhinged and just a complete idiot, or you see people like Shadow of Ezra, and I'm talking about on X specifically, where you're talking about Mike Lee, you're talking about actual elected representatives. You're talking about Cernovich, you're talking about all of the Alex Jones type spreaders of disinformation, talking about that the far left is a murderous cult, which is every accusation is a confession. It really is the far right now. And that's somebody who was behind the door as a Republican. It's just facts-based. So if you look at just facts-based on this individual, this was a Trump voter who killed somebody based on their belief systems. And their belief systems have been radicalized, the fact that they believe a supernatural being is part of the baseline of their personality, that this supernatural being, this being up in the air that you pray to, somehow validates the killing of other people based on somehow that any type of pro-choice position is murder, which we know that's simply untrue. It's simply scientifically untrue. So we get to this point that what do? Right? When you see that fantasy and disinformation has been turned into the reality of killing. Their reality is based on nothingness, on credulity, on fantasy, on religiosity, on fundamentalism, on fanaticism. And that's why fanaticism creates this condition where you can dehumanize the other person and murder them and maybe not feel guilt. I mean, look at this coward. I mean, this fucker goes and murders people and then he hides in the woods and crawls towards the cops. He is the very definition of coward. He dresses up as a cop with a mask, right, in some bizarre horror movie based on his belief systems that he's doing good. Nah, he's a psychopath that uses religiosity and fanaticism as his cover, and somebody who is easily radicalized by the nutters out there, right, who are talking about Donald Trump as some paragon of virtue when he's a sexual abuser and felon. Or you have anybody who's talking about the religiosity of this, or the Mike Johnsons of the world who think that somehow, January 6th was a peaceful day. And that he somehow conflates the insurrection of January 6th with protests in LA. You can be a criminal and not be part of an insurrection. There's just so many layers to this. What I'm telling everybody is this: Vance, the killer, is a killer because of his belief systems, most likely fundamentalism, a religious base, a loser with a gun who also was the owner of a security service and was a wannabe cop anyway, somebody who couldn't hack it. This is somebody who had access to weapons, fake badges, looking like a police officer because he was part of a security company. Think about this. He had the motive, which is credulity, fanaticism, and propaganda, and the radicalization of a person who went hysterical with murder and bloodlust, right? Mixed with access to weapons, security uniforms, right? And somebody who knew the political play because he was part of a bipartisan board. So you have access, you have motive, you have nuttery. That's the three-legged stool of murder in this, I would say, instance. The disinformation out there is so brutally bad that you have to fight it every second. God damn it, guys. You have to fight it every second online, in person, anybody who calls you. This was not a Democrat killing Democrats. This is what it is. It's usually Occam's razor. It always is Occam's razor, guys. There might be some outliers. I'm sorry, maybe 1 in 1,000. Some kind of conspiratorial mess or somebody paid people, all that shit. But Occam's razor is what you need to go back to. It's usually the most obvious and the simplest explanation. It's a MAGA nutter who killed Democrats. Just like when you're talking about the killing of the U.S. healthcare CEO, it's a left wing nutter who killed the U.S. healthcare guy. And you're saying, I'm not both sidings this. This is just facts based. It's just facts based. The issue that I'm having, though, is that, yeah, you had far left people trying to defend it, but for the most part, people on the left and in the center, like the guy's a killer. You probably had 20 to 30% maybe thought it was a good thing. Nobody should think it's a good thing. The thing is, on the far right, you have everybody defending this guy. And that's when I say, when I talk about a hold my beer moment, there isn't really whataboutism if you're talking about where the far right is right now and the fact that they won't even hang a plaque for the J6 law enforcement officers because they've gone that far out into the woods. Just like where our man Vance was when he crawled out of the woods. There you have it. Bad people are saying bad things to cover up for murder. Those bad people are those pushing disinformation on social media channels or in the news. Those people were even on CNN doing whataboutism when you had an interview with some stupid ass who said, "Oh, we're not quite sure the motive." Get out of here. It's baseline facts based. And all I had to do was read every single publication from the AP to the Wall Street Journal, all the way to even watching Fox News to know that this guy is a far right nutter. He can say whatever he wants to say. The baseline is the baseline. The facts are the facts. He is what he is. Don't listen to conspiracy theorists. Don't do that. Course, we have to wait till every single fact comes out. We do. But this isn't hard to figure out. It's funny, the far right side, the No Kings flyers. He probably hated the No King rallies. That's why he had them all, because he's trying to collect them up. But there's going to be a simple explanation to it. It isn't the fact that this was a far left guy who decided to carry around No Kings rally flyers in his freaking car and then go shoot Democrats. It's ridiculous. You almost have to be infantile in your thinking, which they are. They lack critical thinking skills. So, anyhow, this is Denver After Dark. Don't fall for nuttery, and know that sometimes it is just what it is. An apple is an apple, an orange is an orange, and a nutter is a nutter. Thank you, and tune in next time to Denver After Dark. Remember, it's going to get worse before it gets worse, but we will be here on the flip to make sure that the world is a better place based on facts, data, and truth. Thanks for listening. Oh, and thanks for watching.